That's the rear cage welded up and just put some zinc primer on it. And it's okay welds. Perfectly functional. Okay, not massively exciting, but welded in. Just got to clean up the smoky bits. But yeah, really nice and rigid, as you'd expect. But feels good to get some proper structure back in. It's all in the details. So you can see these are the DC charge port cables. That's the connector, so I need to put some eyelets at the end of the cables. They'll go in there, then that gets squashed down. But yeah, extremely close to the seat belt, but it kind of goes outside the sealed area above this metal arch. There'll be an inner wheel arch liner as well, and then the charge port over here somewhere. So I'm trying to figure out exactly where to put it. I'm thinking I've cut this I've squared it off. So there's the charge port in a section of the wing, so that's a squared off version. I do have to be very careful because there's not, well, you can see that, that's the hinge arm, and this sticks in quite close to the body. So that explains why the TSK build, the front stuck out. They had it below the eyebrow, and obviously the eyebrow got in the way, so they couldn't open it up properly. So my idea, which is not without its problems, is to have it above the eyebrow like the 300 SL Roadsters had it. So the Gullwings had their fillers inside the boot lid. But obviously I don't want to have that. Don't want to have to leave it open while charging. Yeah, so this will go roughly there, but I'm having issues. Well, it's a problem for another day, but you can see how much of this charge connector assembly is above the actual charge port. So ideally I could do with cutting this off, but this seals onto the inside there. Yeah, you can see it a bit easier there actually. That's the hinge, and the door is going to swing out over the top, and all this top bit, well, hopefully you can kind of appreciate it. It will stick up quite high, and it's sort of getting towards the apex underneath the arch there. So I need to reduce the height of this really, and that. I'm sure that there'll be a way. I'll chop it down and redo the seal or something. But then I'm not 100% sure how. Yeah, it should be sealed because they're unsealed connectors. I'll figure a way out. So these are the crimp terminals I've got, and I've got to replicate that. So obviously that needs narrowing down, but these are made out of squash tube, so there's a seam. So when I chop the sides down, obviously they're gonna not be quite as strong. So I did the first one, and I thought it was quite impressive how hot it got. Obviously I know copper's a good conductor. Let me see if I can get my phone. I just sort of pulsed it. But it stayed really, really red hot for a long time. Okay, so I haven't got any copper filler, so I'm just doing this DC, just to sort of fuse the edges together. hopefully got that. It's actually worked really well. So unfortunately this one I cut a little bit too short, or too narrow, sorry, but good practice. So just measuring out where to cut to move the rear arch back a little bit. As you can see, there's only about 5mm clearance there for some reason. I've done it to the wheelbase specs. So yeah, so I'm just going to move that 35mm rearwards. I don't really want to mess with this because the side trim is done obviously to the standard length. And to be honest, the gap at the front kind of lines up with the gap at the front and back of the front wheel. That's nicely centered. So it's just a problem on the rear. But hey, it's only fiberglass, and still trying to work out how to do the rear flap. I think it's going to go there, roughly. Okay, it gets to a point where you've just got to cut and hope. So there's a flap marked out on the body. I wanted to hide the fact that, you know, it makes no sense having this triangular shape and the hinge is over here, so I have to go bigger. I've been just double checking the profile. Obviously I've been trying to fit it on the inside as well, but knowing the exact position is a bit tricky. So using this profile gauge, that's better on this side. There. Then mocking it up against there. It's a pretty good fit. The key bits I wanted were the bottom and mainly the top to be really close, so I'm not adding thickness to the hinge clearances. But they're actually quite similar front and rear, and then yeah, it's slightly different. Anyway, time to cut. We have a hole and a flap. And if you can hold that, that'll go roughly in there and then be disguised by the full-size flap. I just need to do some fettling to get the frame in place so I can bond it onto the inside of the body somehow. So that's the rear arch first cut, and then I've just shuffled it along to see how it looks. I think that's about right once it's set back a little bit. Yeah, it's just overlapping obviously, so I'll do that second cut line now. So we're getting there. So that's the Model 3 wing charge port housing. So I think I need to make up, just ease it a little bit more in that corner. This one doesn't really matter. And then the rest, obviously, I'll have to fill in the blanks where I've been clearancing. It's slightly wonky. But the flap now clears in that position, near enough. I've ground quite a lot down of the top edge, but kept the seal. I don't know if I can do this with one hand. You can see that, you can see the seal along that top edge, which I really wanted to keep. It's ground down all the way, and then I'll slim it down a little bit and then add the the panel I cut out, and then try and get some nice caps around it. Obviously hope that that one clears the top as well, because this one does now. And so this was one of those terminals I ticked down. They went really black and oxidized after that heat cycle. This is after acid cleaning. The inside's still a bit mucky, so I think what I'll do is just grind down the sides. It'll still be bolted and clamped in, obviously, through the hole, but I don't want that. resistance in there. So I've had a set of Clecos in my toolbox for about 20 years. This is the first time I've actually used them. They're great. I'm surprised at how well they're pulling the panel together as well. So yes, obviously you can see that's the Model 3 cap. It clears here, just. Once that, obviously I'm going to have to thin that out at the back and bond it on. That should be really nice. Obviously the Cleco's in the way now. Maybe I'll swap it from a little screw or something. Or even a rivet, and I'll just drill them out. And then, yeah, I'll have to fill that area as well as repair in the back, because I've cut the hell out of the assembly. But then, if I can do this one-handed. So, there we go, that's the connector. Okay, that's upside down. There, that whole assembly fits in. And then, whoops. And that's the manual release that I'll probably weave up into the interior below the rear screen. That should be a nice place. So yeah, obviously I plasma cut a lot of this, so I'll have to tidy up and then close up some of the open holes and double check how the drainage is done and things. But yeah, you can see I couldn't really go much further forward. I think the original Roadster one was a bit further forward and it went a bit further over the crown, but I just had to keep the curvature as close as possible. Certainly the top, that had to be nice and tight so it clears as it goes up. You see it's always going to be very close. Actually it's not, well yeah, I'm going to have to allow for the outer layer as well. That's going to be very thin there. But just like that. I don't think many people will notice that, save Gullwing geeks. Okay, I just replaced those Clecos with 2 screws. There we go. It's going to be really tight. It's strange when it's off. This is kind of goes all floppy and loose with a few detemp positions during its opening cycle. You can see plenty of clearance up the top there. Well, obviously it'll be reduced once I've bonded the outer skin on. And yeah, the skin is going to be down to nothing, especially around there. So I might have to go through. That's probably not an issue. Can build it up the back a little bit. I just want to try and get this opening as it's open and charging to look really nice and OEM right, I guess is what I should be shooting for. Okay, obviously some body work and lots more fettling to do, but I had to go with the flat disc on the grinder to thin this section of the panel down and a bit of hot glue, just to make sure everything cleared. So the concept has been proven. That's going to confuse some people pulling up to a supercharger. Yeah, done both sides of the wheel arch now. Well, cut. Ready to work out quite as well. Yeah, it's not quite as neat a trim line on this side, but fiberglass and thinned back anyway. So yeah, just creating fiberglass dust everywhere. So hopefully, fingers crossed, the glass is arriving sometime this week. and I can finalise the position of this bar, and then I can put the crossbar, do the steering. In the back of my head, I might have to tweak the steering position just to match the dash, which is no big deal, but it's kind of another one of these little things that's just slowing me, confirming things. Yeah, dust all over the seat belt as well. But you can see the seat belt on this side. It's only loosely in, but and fairly well hidden behind the rear side glass. You will see it, but no, I'm not going for a 100% accurate replica, obviously.